When you say you don't have time, it only points out to me that this thing you are mentioning, I don't have time about that. It's not a priority. The biggest struggle that I think humankind is they're trying to file everything up here. And we cannot do that with our minds. It's always the thing you least expect that's successful. So what I have done well in business is stop romanticizing and rationalizing massive or small decisions and just made a game time gut call, not following the number one rule of personal branding. And that is that people care about who you are, but they don't care about you. Forget the feelings, follow the process.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Side Hustle Experiment podcast. Today we have Amy Landino. She is a best-selling author, speaker, and a master of time productivity and social branding. Thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
John, thanks for having me. I'm pumped.
Yeah, this is really full circle for me because someone asked me the other day, what made you, like, how did you get her on the podcast? Like, how did you come across her? And while I was doing research for this, I remember you did the song about Gary Vee's book, and it appeared on Ask Gary Vee, and I was like, that's how I started following her.
Oh my gosh, that is such a good callback. I'm so glad you shared that. Thank you. That's a lot of fun.
Where'd you get the idea to kind of do that? Or what made you
Oh
come
my
up with
gosh.
that?
The Ask Gary Vee song was the second song, actually. I made one before that. It was for his, the first time I did it was for the book Jab, 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 Right Hook. And it's a long story, but basically, he'd made such a positive impression on me. He came into my hometown, Columbus, Ohio, and I got to meet him, and it was just a great meeting. It really was the beginning of a longer relationship that I was able to have with him, which was really cool. But I met him, and then Jab, 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 Right Hook came out.
Okay.
And I read that book and I was like, oh my God, this book needs to be on the desk of every single one of my clients. I thought it was the handbook on social media marketing. I loved it. And so I was so enthusiastic about it. I made a musical book review. And that one was, it was during the holidays. So I did a little music video with Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, except for it was All I Want for Christmas is Jab, 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 Right Hook. And it was just a fun thing. And he saw it, he loved it. And it just sort of like, that was the beginning of it. So when Ask Gary Vee came out, he just kind of, did like a nudge, like, hey, you going to do another one? And so I was like, oh, well, if Gary's asking me for another book review, of course I'm going to. So no, it's all just in fun. And it's just a testament to the fact that you can't take yourself too seriously and that you can always do something to stand out. And when it comes to creating brand and when it comes to getting attention, I like to think that I impressed Gary early on and in my ability to do that, which is a pretty big deal. And I love that too. It makes me feel good and it made him feel good. And that's what we all want to do. We want to make stuff people love.
Great. For those who don't know about you want to give like a little brief intro?
Yeah, happily. I would love to briefly introduce myself. It's been a really long journey. My start was on YouTube in 2007. So going on 20 years. If you knew YouTube was around in 2007, it was. It really was just an organic interaction with becoming a creative, which in turn taught me that I was learning this thing that was up and coming called social media marketing. So I really was using YouTube to promote myself. I started a business. I side hustled for about a year and a half and finally left my corporate position, launched the agency. That went on to become a consultancy. It's now business coaching. I work with people on their personal brands. I take people who are personality-led business and turn them into seven-figure thought leaders. And so we leverage personal brand to make that happen, to scale up the business. And it's all come from my experience in working with clients and building a brand for myself over that time. Through that time, I've also written 3 books. The first one was called Vlog Like a Boss because I was helping people with their video content marketing. And then I became very passionate about time management and productivity and wrote Good Morning, Good Life, which is the morning routine manual that everybody needs. And you can learn a lot about that on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/AmyTV. I've almost 500,000 subscribers. I've got 100,000 on Instagram. It's all just been something that has been a product of working really hard and plugging away and doing the thing and bringing awareness to value of helping people in any way that I was really good at by sharing stories and ideas online. And I really hope that everybody does it for themselves too.
A lot of people say they don't have time. So a lot of our audience, they sell on Amazon. They're hustlers. They're trying to find, an extra stream of income and probably to basically go full time. A lot of people, the argument I get is, I don't have time for that. And you recently did a YouTube video say like how to find time. So what would you say to that if they're like, I don't have time?
When you say you don't have time, I believe you. We're all busy. Like we've all found a way to fill the time. When you say you don't have time, it only points out to me that this thing you are mentioning, I don't have time about that, it's not a priority. That's fine. You wouldn't, if your kid needed something now, you'd have time. Like you would, because your priority is there. So it completely makes sense for someone to say, I'm trying to find a second stream of income. I want to generate sales just really easy. Just drop ship, do some printing, make it happen, get the 5-star reviews, get this thing up and running so that it starts running itself and I'm just fulfilling orders. I know. I get it. That's the business aspect of it. We're all trying to build the operations side of the business. We haven't figured out exactly the marketing and sales side sometimes. Personal branding is one way to do that. And it's extremely compelling because it's your face. People like working with people. When you are one of many Amazon listings, it can be competitive out there. It's not impossible. There's just many ways to bring awareness to it. So I just want to point that out that you may not have time for one idea, but the entire category of bringing awareness, digital attention to your listing, to your product, to your offer, I think you do have time for that. I think it matters a lot.
Yeah, I really agree with that. You've mentioned that one of your favorite hacks is using note cards. How do you use note cards? How do you keep them productive? And kind of what's your process with that?
I didn't know you were going to ask me this question. Of course, my note cards are not next to me. I'm just somebody who likes to keep things simple. One of our core values in my company is simple scales. If I can't put an entire idea on a note card, I really want to distill it down as much as possible. This helps me with operations in the business. This helps me with planning a training for my coaching program. This helps me with planning a YouTube video. I'm not always able to get the whole thing onto a note card,
Okay.
but it helps me keep the focus. Because if you can't come down to a bigger concept, make it really simple, then you probably don't know it that well to begin with. So the idea behind the note card is a couple of things. One, keep it simple. That's a big one for me. But two, I live in a world where my community and we romanticize a lot of our note taking. Like,
Okay.
oh, the Notion board needs to be perfectly crafted, or we have to get this beautiful planner. I sell a planner line. Like, I get it. It's pretty. We want the right pen color. We want stickers. Sometimes you over romanticize the note taking and then you don't get the ideas out. The note card is meant to be this throwawayable, easy, back of the napkin thing where you don't overthink what you need to write down so you hurry up and get it out of your head. The biggest struggle that I think humankind has is they're trying to file everything up here. And we cannot do that with our minds. Our minds are full of ideas and things. It's not meant to be a filing system. It can be an idea generator, it can be a problem solver, but we've got to get it out into the real world, especially if you have a limiting belief or a challenge. Formulate it into a sentence, write it down on a note card, and just stare at it and go, is this really a big problem or is it simple and I'm ignoring what the possibilities are?
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So when you do the note cards, what I guess are you just writing it out and then you sort it later or kind of
I
how
keep
do you
them
do
with
that?
me so that there's any idea pops up, boom, 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 note card, note card, note card. And then I have a bit of a review or a reflection system. So every week I do a weekly reflection. It helps me. I have a video on my channel about this. It would be really kind of break it all down because we have a million things everywhere. We've got a calendar for our kids. We've got to look at our own calendar. We've got emails. We've got invoices to pay. Got to keep the light bill on. We have to make sure that payroll was run. I've got my note cards. I probably have some notes from meetings that I had this week. There's stuff I got to do. I always do a download every week of like, what the heck happened? I need to go. Even in your mail drawer, like I put every piece of mail into my mail drawer because I don't want to open mail on the spot. I don't need to be all shook up over a piece of mail just because the mailman came today. I have a time and a place to open my mail so that I can sort it out and know what I need to do with it accordingly. So when I do a weekly reset, in the case that I'm doing that with my note cards, I go back through everything. Was it a big idea that I want to save for content in the future? Cool. I have a place where I can put that. I'm going to rewrite that note into a place where I keep kind of big idea notes, is a totally different subject. If it's a task I need to get done and I just got it out of my head so that I know I need to handle it, it's written on a note card. Now I need to find out, what do I do with that task? Is it a big project or is it just a 5-minute thing? When am I going to do it? If it's a big project, when are we scheduling time for it to happen? Just because you have a thought and you want to handle it right now doesn't mean you have to do it right now. So I write a lot of tasks down on note cards because I know it has to get done, but I don't know who and I don't know when, and I can figure that out during the right time. So it ends up just being an opportunity to get the ideas out. Then you've got your note cards. You do have to go through them and see, like, okay, well, what notes did I take? Why was this important? Okay, this one's throw outable. This one I need to schedule. This one I need to file away. This I can archive, whatever.
I really like that because I need to start doing that because I basically use my phone, like the Notes app, but I never go back to the Notes app
Exactly.
and I just make new notes. But if I had like a pile of cards and it's like, well, this pile is growing, like what is going on with this?
Digital notes are awesome if there's something that you can comprehend, right? So you need a dumping zone. And note cards are just one idea again. And I don't want to say that this is the end all be all. I also have a dumping zone in my Notion, for example, just in case I am who knows where thinking about goodness knows what, and my phone is in my hand. But I have a place where I go that I know it's equivalent to the idea of a note card, that this is also a list of things I need to go back through. So it's about having a place for everything. Tiago Forte talks about this in his book, The Para Method, which actually was a spinoff from another book that's escaping me right now. But the Para Method is PARA: projects, areas, resources, and archive. And if you think about all the different places and things and categories and tasks and moments in your life that you need to get organized around, it could probably be considered a project, an
Mhm.
area, a resource, or you just need to archive it. Great example. One project that comes up for me all the time is a birthday party for a kid. So I got this kid and I got that kid, and I'm constantly having birthday parties. They keep popping up. These kids keep growing up. So if I plan a birthday party in a project, then great.
Mm.
As soon as the party's done, check that off. Cool. I archive it. Now, the following year, when I'm like, what the heck did we do for the last birthday? Let me go look at my notes. I can go back into the
Mm.
archive, pull that information. So, all this stuff that we do day in, day out of our lives, that's a practical day to day thing. Imagine if you did that in your business. There's a lot of repeatable things that you do on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, on a seasonal basis. Think about your holiday extravaganza sales, right? You can bring back a lot of the same principles and make slight alterations to the way you did it this year than you did to last year. But when you're scrappy in business, especially at the beginning, you could lose track of all this experience that you've had when you don't take at least a little bit of a baseline of notes. The moral of this story is just have a place for your ideas. Be ready for that catch all to catch your ideas when you have them, and then take the time to reflect on where do they go, and you're going to be better and better every single time you do something either the same or new.
Yeah, I've definitely realized that too because we have like a list of people like we want to get on the podcast, and in your head you're like, all right, we need to get two people this week. Like, what are we doing? And sometimes, like, even we just did the list like 4 weeks ago. I was like, I forgot to put these people in here. Like, let's just reach out to them now. Like, it's you're right. Like, just writing it down and being able to review is super helpful.
Totally. And writing it down, like send them an email, send them a DM, haven't heard back. When do we follow up again? Like, this is all just the craft of note taking. And the more information you give yourself, the less you're telling your mind that it needs to remember it. One of my favorite things in the world is the acronym OHIO, which is where I'm from, by the way. I'm from
Oh,
Ohio.
okay.
So I love this. The acronym is only handle it once.
Oh, okay. I
So
like
when
that.
you have the idea, just give it a place. If you have the idea or you come up with, oh, don't forget to do that, those moments all the time that happen in your mind. If you don't do anything with it, you're literally planning on dealing with it more than once. And it might just be something that doesn't need to be handled at all, but you might think about it on repeat. Imagine if you took, let's say you come up with, oh, I better do that. Okay, great. I'm going to handle it once. Write it down on a note. I don't care where. Write it down on a note. You handled it. Upon reflection later, you go through some of your notes and you see that task and you go, that doesn't need to be done. Wow, you just made a decision. You handled it once, you made a decision, you saved yourself time by not doing it in the moment when it really, upon reflection, didn't need to be done at all. And you move on and you don't have to rethink it because you know you already made a decision on it. It's amazing what happens when you get your ideas out of your head.
Yeah. Someone asked you in an interview, I think it might have been Gary, or maybe it was a question, and you said one of the reasons you've been able to be like so successful and to succeed was your ability to make decisions. Can you give a little bit more insight on that? Before we get into that, if you could just take 1 second, like this video, we would greatly appreciate it. It really helps get this out to more people, and that will allow us to get better guests for you guys. And if you are feeling extra generous, leave a comment what you like about it or tag us on social. Thanks so much. Now let's get back to the episode.
Absolutely. It's as simple as it sounds. I think a lot of people struggle with the idea of decision making because they have to be the one to make the decision and they're worried that they don't know what future them is going to think about that. Except they actually know future them pretty well for two reasons. First of all, you know what you want. Even if you haven't articulated it very clearly, you have a general idea of how you want to feel, how you want it to be, how you want life to go. But two is that you feel now the way you'll feel then because you're not making the decision. So imagine if you don't make this decision for 2 more months, how are you going to feel? Probably the same, if not worse. So that's my rationale on it. I just make decisions really quickly, especially if it's on the scale of things that's like, is this that big a deal or is this not that big a deal? Like, for instance, I have a fabulous YouTube thumbnail designer. He's great. He gets better every single time we make a video. But he's so good now. He always still wants my feedback. And I have gotten to the point in the business where sometimes I don't even know a video came out. That's how efficient we are. We're ahead of schedule in filming. We've got editors on editors, and we've got thumbnail designers, and we've got people on the admin side that push it live. They know the standard. They know how we do things. They get it all teed up, and it goes out on time. I don't need to vet the thumbnails every single time. So sometimes I'm going to get in there just to make them feel better because I need them to get better at decision making. But what I know for sure is I don't know which thumbnail is going to be the best. As long as we have options, I'll go, fine, this one, this one, this one, based on these titles. Cool. Put it out. If it doesn't work, we change it. That's the beautiful thing about YouTube. We're just changing stuff all the time. I can tell in the first 5 minutes if our thumbnail and title's flopping. And then I assess it again after 2 hours. And then I assess it again after 24 hours. Like, you just have to run with the punches. So imagine if I waited and waited and waited and waited for the perfect thumbnail, I wouldn't have that data. It's always the thing you least expect that's successful. So what I have done well in business is stop romanticizing and rationalizing massive or small decisions and just made a game time gut call. The more experience you have, the more on point you are with those calls. When you make the wrong call, and I've made many wrong calls and many that have put me through the ringer, you learn that lesson so hard, so hard. You are so much better on the other side if you have the audacity to get through it. So it just makes sense to just make the decision, notice the failures and say, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I failed. That's data. Take the data and run with it. Don't take it personally. Just move on.
I really like that a lot. I know you're a big fan of systems in your business. Can you kind of talk about why systems are important and maybe kind of how you use them in your business?
Systems run my whole life. I mean, if I can find a system for something, I'm going to find that system and I'm going to acquire it as quickly as I can. What I have learned is that success follows systems. You guys think I like going to the gym at 4:30 in the morning? That's the craziest thing. If you would have told me that 10 years ago, I'd be like, nope, that's never going to be me. I'm not a 4:30 in the morning gym goer. I like my mornings, but I definitely don't use my mornings at the gym. I do that now 5 days a week. It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing. Actually, I didn't go yesterday because I was sick the night before. So I knew I needed more recovery time and I slept in. But the system is what the system is. Successful people don't do something because they feel like it. They do something because it is the process. It's the system. And they build systems so that the environment, the culture, the process coaches them up on what they need to do next. Here's the other aspect of decision making I probably should have mentioned. You get decision making fatigue
Mm.
very easily. When you wake up in the morning and go, am I going to go to the gym? Or what am I going to wear today? Or what's for breakfast? Or what? When you can check those boxes and make it a plan, and this is what success looks like, and I'm just going to check those boxes so that it's done. Then when you get the major decisions that come in, you can have the bandwidth and the confidence and the willpower to make a decision and move forward with it. So, systems in every way, from lifestyle to business, wherever you can get them, are actually what give you more freedom in the rest of your life. The biggest feedback that I get is, oh, wow, your life is so robotic. It's just like, no, it's really not. The things that I don't feel like romanticizing, like my work, I don't want to romanticize my work. There was a time where I was madly, deeply in love with my work. I thought I was going to be obsessed with it from sun up till sundown for the rest of my life. And I was wrong. I am so grateful for the version of myself that put in all that time and all that effort. And I still put in a lot of time and a lot of effort, but my priorities are shifting now. And I want more time with my family. I want more time for me. I want more balance. But it's really just, how do I take the leverage I've built in this work to give me more on the other side that I really want? You do have to put your time in. And the best thing you can do if you're just starting and you're super in love with what you do, I am cheering for you so hard, because you will get through the hard times. But I want you to assume that it's going to become a job to you at some point, more than it is your entrepreneurial passion, excitement. And that you putting in your work now and having the right systems is what's going to give you the ability to stay in it successfully, still having the leverage of working for yourself, owning your own business, taking advantage of all the wonderful things that are risky in your work so that you can do more of what you want to do. That comes with systems. The only reason why I'm still YouTubing at almost 40 years old, like, let's talk about that. I was in my 20s making YouTube videos. That makes sense. The only reason why it still makes sense now is because it's one of the best personal branding and marketing credibility pieces that I have. So there has to be a system around it so that it doesn't become this thing I don't feel like doing anymore. It's the process. So build the systems where you need to keep things sustainable. You're going to be much happier in it in the end with how this all turns out for you. Even if something doesn't work for you anymore, you'll have the data, you'll have the measurements to see why.
Got it. So for a couple of things here. So how would you probably go about building a system? So a lot of people hear, oh, you need systems in your business, and they're like, that is just like way over my head. Is there like an example of like maybe how you created a certain system, like start to finish, or how you think about it?
Totally. I'll give you one really great example. If you're on this YouTube kick with me, just so check out my channel for sure. But I have something called my P sheets.
Okay.
This is a great example of a system. So you think I sit down in front of a camera and I just start talking? No, I don't. It used to be that way on YouTube. It is not that way anymore. You still need to have that fluidity of personality and speak to who you are, but there needs to be some structure to the plan to make sure that you're creating something that people still want to watch. So I created something called the P Sheets. It's my system. It's basically like the guardrails for how do I make a great video today, whether it's my first video or my 1000th.
Okay.
This is going to be a great video even if I'm just learning the ropes on sitting on camera and talking and promoting myself. So follow me on Instagram. Just message me the phrase P Sheets and just tell me that John sent you because I'll send you the gift. It's just a Google Doc. It's very easy to access. How did I create the P Sheets? Really easy. What is something you have done many times that you can write out the steps? Write the steps out. Now, what I said about the note card thing earlier is going to be really useful. You're probably going to see a whole lot of steps, right? Like maybe you go through a process and you're like, dang, unloading the dishwasher turns out to be 15 steps. That's wild. But you look at it, you start to find common denominators. There's certain things that really are the same. And now it's becoming a system because you're finding buckets of what's actually happening. Now you can give tips on the best way to do it so that it doesn't have to be exact, but as long as this is what success looks like, you put the coffee mugs in the right cabinet. Congratulations. All building a system is starting by writing the steps one by one and identifying the fact that, yes, you are not special. You're not the only one that can do this. Someone else can do it if you simply write out what those things are. If you do nothing else, just write the steps to the process. I wrote down all of the steps for how do I come up with a great video idea? What's the title? What's the thumbnail? That's P sheet number 1. And then what is the intro? What is the content? How do I make sure I get paid on this video? And how do I close it? And I make sure I fill out P sheet number 1 and P sheet number 2. And then I'm all set. I can sit down with those 2 sheets. I can sit down and I can shoot a video and I'm going to have a great time doing it because I have enough direction to keep me on point, but enough freedom to let my personality shine through. That's what creating a system is. But it starts with just writing the process down.
Makes sense. Because I think a lot of people say, "Oh, I know what has to be done." Like I get it in my head, but I have like ADHD, so like lists for me are really good because it's like, here we go. This is what. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Let me just like do that real quick. So I get super like distracted and sidetracked. So yeah, like having everything down is super
This
helpful.
is such a great call out because everyone's brain is wired differently. And you might have ADHD or you might think you have ADHD or whatever. We all just kind of like make decisions about things in our mind, like, oh, yeah, I need a system. I'll have to work on that someday. Great. That's a great place to start. Someday is today. I want everyone to do this right now. Just think of something that you're like saying, oh, we should create a system around that. So eventually it's no longer my job. I know there's something in Amazon fulfillment and eBay selling that has got to be ring dinging in people's ears. Just take out a note on your phone or a piece of paper, whatever. I want you to write down one step in the process. I don't care if it's step number 87 or step number 1 or what you think is number 1. And then it turns out later you go, oh, wait, that wasn't number 1. That was number 2. Just write down one step because to your point, John, when we sit down to create a standard operating procedure, it's very easy to think you know all the steps by heart and you type them all out. And then you're doing the process and you go, oh, just like you said, oh,
Yeah.
I forgot that. Now you go check your checklist and you go, oh, I didn't add that. Okay, we will put that here. It evolves as you evolve. It continues to get better. But wherever it is at the moment in time, let's say you end up with an intern who's like, give me a job. Or you end up with somebody who's like, I'm going to help you today. And you go, but I don't have time to train you because you're only here for today. You could pull a checklist out and say, well, here's the process, the best way we have it documented right now. Let's see what would be most valuable for you to focus on. Just get it out of your head immediately.
I like that a lot too, because I think that's a hard part too. Is because I've definitely had it in my Amazon business where we had help, and you kind of put these processes together. This is how I do it, and then they kind of do it, but they don't really do it, and then you're like, I'm just gonna do it myself, and then it just becomes a nightmare. And I've really learned that a lot of the biggest point is like you really just have to stay on like the system and the SOP, and just like when something happens, like fix that part of it, or you always just have
Absolutely.
this recurring problem. It's a nightmare.
But the other thing is this, you really breezed over something important. John, I want everybody here that's side hustling to not have to side hustle at some point.
Yeah.
In order for you to do that, you're probably doing the math for yourself going, how much do I have to make to leave my job? Yeah,
Mhm.
sure. That's a big milestone. Get past that. But what your vision should be is much more than that. And in order for it to be much more than that, you're going to need support. So having the standard operating procedure and all of these checklists, and maybe you even record yourself doing whatever the process is to really get that SOP fully fleshed out. We've got visuals, we've got step by step, we've got every kind of learner's availability medium you need. You also need to train up your people. So, I mean, I walked through how to do things in my business with my team, and I continue to meet with them weekly for a team leadership training. Sometimes I walk through something in the business. Sometimes I'm walking through something in the business I have told them to do multiple times, and I have seen where they are making mistakes that need to be fixed. Do I tell them in the moment? Yes. But I'm also going to tell them in a training where I have their captive audience and they're not just checking Slack real quick and they see I'm griping about something. They need to see why that mistake is critical when it is. The subtlest thing they may think is just, oh, that's easy. I checked that box. But they may have missed one very important word. And you have to reiterate that. That's training people up. And we resort to, oh, I'll do it myself. I don't have time for that because we're not investing in people. Now, if you have one day help and they're not really helpful, but they're also not going to be on your team forever, I could see why you would just move along and do it yourself. But the people who you actually ask to be on your team and you pay them and you make money so they can make money, you have to invest in them. So, not just giving them a checklist, but training them up. That is how you're going to create your destiny with this business. That's how you get out of side hustle. That's you could side hustle and have a whole team do the whole job for you if you really want. That's fantastic. And then you move on when you guys are good and ready. But you have to know that for what you want, you cannot do it all by yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree. And going back to like the mistakes, I forgot who said it, but someone was like, you have to almost like correct it in the moment, because that person doesn't necessarily, I think it was like about a landing page or something and the link was broken. And like if you tell the person 24 hours later, they're just like, oh, like the link worked, like it's fine. You have to show
I
them like,
think it
no, no one can
depends.
order now. Like this is a
No,
problem,
yeah, no,
like
listen,
kind
there's
of
a
thing.
scale of urgency. Absolutely. Like if there's like a red alert, we just went live with a launch and you literally can't pay us. Yes. Everybody needs to be testing the pay links at all times. But it doesn't mean that there's going to be things that you're going to say I don't even think that those are the easy ones. Those are the easy ones. The harder ones are the things where you go, oh, that's not how I would have done it. I would have done it better. They did it at a 50%. I do it at 100%. But it's not so urgent like a payment link being broken. So you don't say anything and you just think, they just don't care. That's why you have to build them up. That's why you have to teach them. That's why you have to train them. And that's why, you know what I would do in that situation? Hey, you guys, remember that super duper emergency we had the other day? Let's have a little chat about it. That's this week's leadership training. And you sit down and you go through the process again. And the piece that everybody missed that you realize you breezed over the first time you taught it, you spend a little bit more time on it. Everyone gets better in the process, specifically the leader that you are. You get better when you over communicate this information that is supposedly vital.
Got it. What is the fake assistant framework? I've seen a lot of reels. You kind of talking about that. I think people will find this pretty
Oh,
helpful.
yeah, this audience is gonna love this. Man, you're gonna be all up in my DMs if you want this information. So, I have another thing for you to check out. You can message me on Instagram, the word playbook. So, here's the thing. The fake assistant is the idea of kind of what we were just talking about. A lot of people don't hire because they don't have the finances. Usually, when you say you don't have cash flow for something, there's a multitude of reasons for that. From a mindset standpoint, it might be that you'd rather do it all yourself and keep all the money for your own good, which I totally understand that mindset when you're side hustling and you're trying to figure out how do I get out of this job to launch this business. But it is short sighted in how you need to build something to be sustainable. So, what I like to teach people is that you are fully capable of hiring someone, but maybe they don't have to exist yet. In the same way that we just talked about creating an SOP or a standard operating procedure, this is the fake assistant framework is building a standard operating procedure for your assistant. If you don't have an assistant, I want you to imagine someone else being fully in charge of your inbox and being fully in charge of your calendar, setting up all your Zoom link calls, doing the admin on the back end of your eBay, you name it. I want you to imagine somebody all up in your business. It's scary at first. So now we're just going to pretend like they exist. The fake assistant is a separate inbox from yours that becomes the heart of the whole business now. Everything you do from this point forward. Let's say I have a fake assistant, which I don't. I have a real assistant. And I'm talking to John in my Instagram DMs. And he's like, I'd love to have you on the podcast. And I go, that sounds awesome. Do me a favor. Could you send the details to this email address, olivia@amylandino.com. Olivia was the name of my first fake assistant. And he sends that email over to Olivia. Well, now when it's time to get to my podcast interview requests, meeting requests, invoices, anything administrative that someday should not be my job, I'm going to go put my Olivia hat on and I'm going to go to the Olivia inbox and I'm going to handle it. Now, I'm still spending time on it because I didn't buy someone else's time to do it. I'm still spending my time on it. But what's happening is I've got an entire inbox, custom curated, perfectly designed, great replies to the emails. Hi, this is Olivia, John. Thank you so much for asking Amy to be on your podcast. We are dialing in what the process looks like for the best assistant in the history of world ever to do this job for you. I know this because you think you're the best assistant that you'll ever have. Turns out, if you just teach an assistant some of these basics, they will probably become way better than you. And you are paying way too much for an assistant right now because you're doing it. But by creating the inbox, by teaching the world they need to speak with somebody else, your gatekeeper, to do things with you, to arrange meetings, to take calls, whatever, you get into the habit of thinking that way. You get into the vision of my organization is bigger than me. And you're designing the process for what it looks like for someone to work with your assistant to do things for you so that you can be a better gatekeeper of your time. So the fake assistant is not this charlatan thing. It's to help you get on board with the fact that you do need help. And bonus tip, you will win the lottery when you time yourself on how often and how long you are in the assistant inbox. Because let's say you spend 20 hours a week on assistant tasks, which is a real possibility. Because do you know how much time it takes to go back and forth and email with somebody about setting up a time on the calendar? That we have tools to help us with this, but let's be honest, it still takes time. Oh, that PDF didn't come through. Can you send it through again? There are so many things that are going to take so much time. Imagine if you are trying to be at the $500 an hour level and you are spending 20 hours a week in the admin inbox. Are you going to think twice about paying somebody $25 an hour to be your assistant, especially when you just showed them with all these emails how to do a good job?
I love that too because it gives you. I think sometimes when you're trying to outsource something, you're like, well, I can't because if John responds or this other person responds, like it's use case. But if you're actually doing it, you end up with an inbox full of like pretty much every use case, or at least an example or a template for that. And so you could like kind of skip through that step of having to explain. It's like, well, here's an email with that
Yeah.
scenario.
And I want to point out the reels that you were referencing that are on my Instagram account about this because I showed proof that Hugh Grant did it.
Yeah.
A award-winning actor pretended to be his own agent.
That's
Like just
hilarious.
straight up admitted the entire thing. It was amazing. Lady Gaga pretended to be her own manager. But my favorite one is the last one that came out because it was a young lady who was on the Call Her Daddy podcast and she was in college and she was starting to do more public speaking. Representing herself, she was like, "Can I have $100 for this speech?" But when an assistant was stepping in for the email and she said, "I really don't want to get out of bed for less than $1,000 for a speech." That ended up being possible. There's something about the fact that when it's bigger than you and you're not all up in your head about how you present yourself to be the nice guy on email, you're worth more. And then suddenly 1,000 became 5,000, became 10,000. Your numbers just go up. The more experience you have, the more legitimacy you have. And it didn't take her that long to get a real assistant, from what I understand. But she had no problem. I mean, this girl is still young and she had people going, "This girl's in college and she has an assistant? That's really interesting." But for whatever reason, they still paid her more. It's a lot of you getting out of your own way that you already are worth more if you would just get into the full vision of where you're headed.
I think it's probably also some like weird mental thing where it's like, well, they're saying no to my assistant. They're not saying no to me. It's like easier to almost like shift blame a little bit or
Totally.
like
If you take things
take that
personally, that
shot
might
because
help.
like your assistant wrote the email. You're just like, whatever. Like I'll just say
Yeah.
they messed up.
Oh, yeah. Think about the scapegoating you can do. Like, "Oh man, I sent you the wrong link. My bad." If you really wanted it and you want to cut the price in half. But I recommend you don't do that because this is your opportunity to get to the pay level that you need to. We're just so busy trying to figure out how to scrape by. We continue to try to figure out how to scrape by, and the economy is just taking us to task on how much groceries are going up and all of these other issues with the economy. Why is it that everyone else is able to raise their price, but not you? You can. So, whatever you have to do circumstantially to make you feel more within your power to do that, that is my whole entire purpose in life and in business is to help people with that.
How did you kind of get the confidence? Because you started, you said 20 years ago. Um, how did you get kind of like where you are now? Because I'm guessing like you were doing stuff for free, then you got paid, then you got paid a little more. So kind of how did you go? Because a lot of people are like, yeah, like I'm not worth that much. Like, how did you get the confidence? Because you started 20 years ago, so that's crazy.
You know, it's a good question because also my work is very work from home friendly. And I think a lot of people who got their start in the pandemic can identify with this, that there's something really empowering about the fact that you can work from home and do a lot of things on your own and stay in your little hole and whatever. And I'm an introvert, guys. I'm an introvert through and through. I need rehabilitation after human connection. The end. Like, there's no fighting it. I'm good at being on from practice, but I'm an introvert. There is a certain point in time where I realized, wow, when I come out of my little hole and I talk to people and I hear what their questions are, they could have a multi-million dollar operation and still be asking me what I would perceive as the silliest little questions about content creation. That's why you are worth more. You're a specialist in an area, and really smart, successful, and wealthy people just got good at putting the right people around them to help them with the things they're not good at. And I've actually found that there's very, 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 very successful people that aren't good at much. They just brought a lot of people around them that are good at a lot of awesome things that help them become more successful. It's amazing what incompetence will do if you just embrace it. That's been the hardest lesson for me. But genuinely, my confidence has come from reps, putting in the reps, doing the work. Like, it's just undeniable. At a certain point, I'm not running around saying I'm a video expert and that I help people with businesses and that being total crap. It's paper trailed all over the internet. Like it's just everywhere. If you want to see my first video of all time, it's there. Actually, I should not say of all time. The ones from 2007, those I have kind of behind a private wall. They're not that bad. They're mostly just like sing-songy and just like me hanging out with my friends at the bar. The first videos I ever posted on the channel I'm on now, youtube.com/AmyTV from 2011, I'm in a second bedroom with a bed behind me. It's cheesy. It's terrible lighting. It's a crappy camera. They are there. Go and watch them. The paper trail is there. So getting your reps in is everything. You have to believe that every single upload may not be the viral thing, but it is helping you get better every single time. And I would also say get into the world of people you can help, even if they don't hire you, even if it's not a sales conversation, even if it's not about selling anything. Just ask them what they know about what you know, or see if they ask you, because if you have a brand, people will start to get to know you for a thing. You have a line of questioning for me, John, because you know what I know,
Yeah.
because I am known for it. So you ask me questions about it. That's what building brand is. When people start asking you questions, you start to realize, wow, they could really use my help with that. It sounds like whether they're going to, whether they're your target client, whether they're the right customer or not, the more you hear what other people need help with in regards to what you're good at, the more you realize how valuable you are.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really, because for me, it's like we talk to like probably you too, like the same people, like me and Drew, like are doing the same thing. So like when we're talking to each other, we're like talking way up here, and then
Yeah,
you talk to a friend, they're like, "You do what? Like, what do you mean? Like, how do you set up a podcast?" You're like, "Oh, well," and you're like, "Oh, I guess like I kind of know something," because like obviously this person doesn't know how to do it, and it's just interesting.
exactly. You need to spotlight that more often. It helps a lot with confidence. And if you need to, my favorite tip, write it down. Wow, I know this, and this person didn't know this. Didn't see that coming. It's wild.
You've helped a lot of people build personal brands, like you were referring to before. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see people make?
Not following the number one rule of personal branding. And that is that people care about who you are, but they don't care about you. This is really harsh for a lot of people, first of all, because they're like, ouch, that hurts. And I don't even know what it means. So I'll tell you, people care about who you are. Like I said, John, you know what questions to ask me because you know where my forte is. Who you are is how somebody can come to understand you. The better somebody can articulate what you're good at, the better somebody can explain who you are, let's say to a friend or to an acquaintance or a colleague, like, oh, you should call Amy. She specializes in that. The better somebody can understand it so that they can repeat it, the more people know who you are. But they don't care about you. This is the part people mess up. They think I have to start a personal brand. So let me share that I went to go get a coffee today. Or let me show you a picture of my children. Or look at my messy closet. Here's my project for today. Does that have anything to do with what you want to be known for? This is where people get hung up because we see influencers and we think influencers means personal brand. Influencers have a personal brand, but you can also have a personal brand and not be considered what today's current world calls an influencer. I would argue that the phrase is just the word has just been used for a particular example, and it actually means a lot more than it is. But hopefully you understand what I'm getting at. You don't need to share everything about your life. I recommend you don't. Leave a little bit to the imagination. I love when people are like, I haven't seen enough of your personal life lately. Good. That means I must be living it because I still have a lot of content that I've been putting out. You want to get a little bit of that feedback and see where people want to be let in. But I'll give you the example that I like to share, which is people don't care what my babies look like, but they definitely want to know how I'm running a business from home and was able to keep both my kids here with me full time for the first year of their lives. I can only have a sustainable business if that's the case. There was no, I got to go back to a job. There was no, the economy's dropping and I'm going to, drop the kids off somewhere and go work down the street. There was never that. I built the leverage. It's sustainable. I was able to stay home with them and now they go to school because they're better for it and I'm better for it. People want to know that. Their faces are relevant to how I am a specialist because now the layer of me being a mother factors into my level of expertise and the experience that I have to be able to share that with the people who follow me, because that's how I help people. Those are the types of people who follow me. So the biggest mistake people make, if you are not coaching people up on food, I don't need to see your lunch. If you want to share it and there's context around why you're sharing it, like if I were going to do it, it would probably say something like, I eat the same thing every day. I literally eat the same 5 things every day. I don't have time to think about it. I told you about decision making fatigue. I don't want to make a decision about what I'm eating. I have an alarm on my phone. It says lunch. I go upstairs. I get rice cakes, either canned tuna or canned chicken, because I guess you can't have that much tuna, and just a tiny amount of cheddar cheese. That's what I eat for lunch. It's a decision. My trainer made it. It's off my plate. Huh, no pun intended. That's literally it. The decision's made. So it's these things that make it more possible for me to stay aligned with who I am. And if I'm going to post that online, I'm going to say, Alan told me to eat this, so I eat it every single day. It saves me at least 1 to 2 hours not thinking about what I'm eating for lunch today. And
Amazing.
that's a time management tip. The context of what you share has to do with what you want to be known for.
How do you personally decide what to share and what not to share on social?
Literally that. How does this matter? I have a person. Her name is Charlotte.
Okay.
Charlotte's been with me since the beginning. Charlotte is who I see when I look at the lens of a camera. Charlotte's who's listening to this call right now. And you know how many like 60-year-old men I get emails from that are like, I have never met a Charlotte. I don't think I am a Charlotte, but I watch your videos. And I love that so much, because just because you can throw a dart to a target board and hope to hit the middle doesn't mean you won't get points for getting a little bit outside of that. Right. So I'm going to hit outside of my target, but only because I'm trying to hit the target, only because I'm trying to get to center. I'm still going to help people. So by focusing on one person, their struggle, their challenges, their hangups, how they're going to be better for still being with me 20 years later, how they're going to be better for just discovering me today. That's who I think about. So when I go, what am I going to post on stories today? Or what reel is going to be interesting? Or how do we make a great YouTube video? Or what's in the newsletter? It's for her. I'm writing to her. And when I do that, I'm more likely to be thinking about another person, certainly another person from me, that might actually want to hear what I have to say.
That makes a lot of sense and probably makes it much easier for you because you could just be like, well, what does Charlotte want? Or what would she want?
Exactly. And also, I want you to think about this. Some people get in front of the camera or whatever your blank canvas of choice is, blog posts, tweets, and they think 3 things. No one's watching this. 0 people. 0 people. Millions of people could see this. Millions. Or I'm just talking to myself. Audience of 1. It is an audience of 1, but it's not you. It's certainly not 0 people. And it's not millions either. It's 1 person that you do this for. If you sit down and you say, who is my perfect target audience? You said it earlier too. Is it your friends? Is it your family? Is it your best friend? For most of us, no. The people closest to us are more likely to think we're crazy, but our perfect customer doesn't. So we keep them in mind. I like to give her a name because it just helps me to stay on point. It's for Charlotte. Don't waver. Don't lose your confidence. Don't get in your head. Don't worry about what the rest of the world's going to tell you. When your brother-in-law sees you at Sunday dinner, he's going to say something about what you posted. That's life. He's not my target audience. It's okay. He's going to have thoughts. That's what social media is all about, right? But if I made it for Charlotte and Charlotte is affected, we did our job. So whenever I post anything, it's with that in mind.
Got it. How do you stay so consistent? You've been doing this for 20 years now. Have you ever wanted to like quit making videos or social or I mean like I feel like a lot I've only been doing this maybe Instagram like 5 years, YouTube maybe like 3 years, and there's definitely
Mhm.
been some like wavering. It was like, oh, do I still want to do this? Like, what is the deal? So, how have you stayed like super consistent with it?
That's a good question because it's actually so easy to fall out of love with social media when it has been a great love for
It
such a
gets
long
easier and
time.
easier when you don't post. It's like, ah, I'll go another day, and
Mhm.
then it becomes this
And
huge
that is
thing.
that is it. Oh, I love that you said that. That is it because it's so easy to not post because you're like, whatever. I don't even care about social media that much. But you're basically saying, I don't care about marketing my business or keeping it sustainable or thriving. Because all social media is a marketing medium. It's a place for us to relate. So if I am saying that, I'm romanticizing social media. Lots of people do that. Lots of people romanticize social media. We romanticize social media when we can't be bothered to be bored with our own thoughts anymore. We scroll social media in the line at the grocery store, when we're in traffic, when we're in bed, all the time. Watching a show, we're on social media. It's romantic. People just always think there's something better, something better, something better, something better. I don't want to be like that. I believe that consistency comes from having faith in the process. Here's how I think of faith: follow aligned intentions through habits. If my intent is to get to my goal, I just need to trust the process and follow the aligned intentions through habits. The habits that I create make me get closer to where I'm headed. So the habit of posting consistently might get me one more one more person's attention than I would have had. The habit of going to the gym helps me feel better every day. If I keep the habit, I continue to feel better. If I don't keep the habit, I might waver a little bit. The habits are all contributing to the greater vision, and you have to have faith, which means I'm probably going to do all these things today and not a whole lot's going to come out of it. I'm not going to get this huge moment of amazing payback because I did all my habits today. But because of the culmination of time and all of these things happening and compounding, I'm going to end up getting an amazing effect in the long run. Guess what happened? Because I posted consistently for so long on YouTube, like I said, as soon as the business really took its first big hit, we still survived because it was undeniable what I was still able to do with the business that I had because of all the time that I put in. So you have to trust that everything you do, the habits that you keep, the positive that you continue to do, even when you don't feel like it. I don't feel like talking to my Instagram stories today. I don't feel like making sales calls. I don't feel like checking my orders and shipping them out. You keep the habits. It's the system. Forget the feelings. Follow the process.
I love that. Two more questions. How do you get over a bad day?
How do I get over a bad day?
Yeah.
I go to bed on time. I was gonna say I go to the gym, but that's a lie. Lately, I will always go to the gym first thing in the morning, which really has helped me. I have noticed it. I used to think this is crazy, but I have noticed that I'm so much better for at least 2/3 of the day. If I went to the gym and had enough coffee. If I do those two things, I'm so good. Like, it's wonderful. When things start to go awry, like you got the 3-year-old screaming and this one's over here also wants food, and then my husband comes home and it's like maybe he had a bad day, maybe I had a bad day, maybe our energy's not matching, and then it's like just chaos. The end of the day, it's like, okay, get back to systems. What is our evening shutdown routine?
Mm,
This is huge for me. We didn't even talk about morning routines. Your morning routine starts at 8 p.m.
interesting.
Not 4 a.m., not 5 a.m., not 7 a.m., at 8 p.m. What you do from 8 p.m. on dictates how the next day is going to go. So if it just ended up being a terrible day, I know I just have to start over. But starting over happens that evening, not the next morning.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Um, What's one last piece of advice you'd want to give to the audience, and then where can everyone find you?
The last piece of advice is I want you to forget the perfect moment and make this moment perfect. Something as simple as taking out that note card and writing down one step in a process that maybe someday you don't have to do anymore. That's a great way to do it. We are constantly waiting for all the stars to align. You're waiting for your paycheck to be enough so you can leave your job. You're waiting for the business to be just good enough where you feel like you could leave and be confident and be able to show everyone up. Forget all of that. Make this moment absolutely perfect for making the progress that you need right now. We don't have that long of a life. So if you actually want to build something that's going to make this life of yours amazing, every single thing that you do habitually is going to help you or hurt you with that. So let's lean toward the good habits and start making them happen right now.
Awesome. Where can everyone find you?
I recommend coming over to Instagram. Just look for Amy Landino. It's at Schmatastic and it's verified. You can't miss it. And like I said, tell me that John sent you. And if you message me either P Sheets or Playbook, you'll get both of those things I was telling you about. P Sheets for YouTube structure and Playbook for the fake assistant playbook. It's the whole thing. It's so good. And yeah, I would love to see you there.
Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, John. It was fun.
Yeah. Guys, like, subscribe, go follow Amy, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. If you enjoyed this episode and know someone else that would enjoy this episode, if you could send them this episode, literally just copy and paste the link, send them on Instagram DM. Everyone loves to network. This is a great way to do it, a very easy way. It helps grow the podcast and get better guests. So the more the podcast gets shared, the more views we get, the better guests we could get for you. We would really, really appreciate it. And tag us on social media and we will share it as well.